Welcome to Ephemera Files by Tommy and Making Mildred's Roses. We are coming up on the finish line finally. I am creating this journal in conjunction with Lindsay Zener of NevermoreCreations17.com, and she has a Facebook group, and I will link both of those below. In this video, we are going to look at clusters and collages and figure out what's the difference, at least what the difference means to me. And since I'm the one making it, this will be what the difference means to me. So let's get into it. I'm kind of excited to be almost done. Been pretty labor intensive. Normally, I'm not videoing how to do each step, and so it goes much quicker. All right, as before, I have put clothespins on the pages that I want to show you, but I'm not going to do all of these today. Some of these are already done, and I've only clipped it to make sure that I show you those finished pages. And these will not be all of the pages that I do, because I still would like to use some more of this gift wrap that I found, and I've used in a couple of places, but I'd like to still use a little bit more of it. And I still have this tray full of stuff. These are things that I've already completed that'll go in there later. But I have all these things that I can use. And so I'm just going to look through my journal. Well, this journal, since I'm selling it, it's not mine as soon as I get done. Anyway, I'm going to look through my journal, and I'm going to look for little blank spots and things like that. And when your journal is as fat and as chunky as this, it's probably a good idea to keep your collages and your clusters thin if you can. Therefore, gauze is good, washi tape's good, wrapping paper's good, thin printer paper is good. You will find I don't always follow that rule. So first, what do I think is the difference between a cluster and a collage? To me, a cluster is something that can stand alone all by itself, like this one here. I'll zoom in just a little bit on here so that you can see it. And what I've done here is I have taken a page from the book that had this illustration on it, and I have taken some of my splatter painted scrap paper and a little piece of the curtain voile and one of the doilies that I cut out of this paper. And I have just stacked them together and done some crazy stitching around the edges. That is an all-inclusive piece. And so I call that a cluster. And then I just put glue on the back piece and put it on in the place that I want it. Now, a collage to me means that it would not be able to be a standalone. And see, here's another, I'll just go back real quick. Here's another one that's a cluster. This whole thing could be glued to a page, or any part of it could just be glued to the page, because it's all stacked up, it's different materials, and it's a standalone. I can hold this whole thing in my hand. So let's find a finished collage. I know I marked one in here. Here is one. And this is a pocket, and this one is collage made up of the pocket, obviously, but then layers of washi tape, some ribbon, and a doily that I cut out of that matched that other doily. And you couldn't take these pieces and have it still stand alone and be a coherent piece. This would be a collage because it's backed on that card and it's got all these pieces on there. So that's a standalone piece, and I could glue it to that page and that would still be a cluster. I know I have another collage in here that I wanted to show you. Here, this is also a collage. And this one has a lot of components. This is the stenciled paper that we did way back, and we glued the brown paper to it. And on top of that, I have put a strip of washi, and then a piece of the book page torn in a long strip, and then a sticker frame, and I left it open in the middle with this background paper showing, and then a piece of the avocado dyed paper scrap that was torn off of an end, and then this piece that I fussy cut out of a magazine. That could not stand by itself. Therefore, to me, that's a collage. And here is another collage. It's a fussy cut magazine image with some washi tape crisscrossed across the back. Now, some people, I don't know if there is a minimum number of different items that have to be used in order for it to be a collage. This has 3, although it looks like 2. It's got 3 because it's got 2 strips of washi and then the image in the middle. And I think that that is the accepted minimum for a collage, but I've done collages where I had 2 things and I thought it pretty well was a collage. This also is collage on either side of this page. There's writing paper over here covering up the flowers that were not roses. And I've used the writing paper. I've also used one of these papers that I got from Wish and a piece of the wall curtain. And on the back side, I used a matching card, some washi, and a piece of the book. And then I'm going to come back later and put a dangle through the bottom of that. I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with this page because those also are not roses. And my focus is on roses in this journal. Let's see if I have any more that are already made. This one's a little of both. Because if I took off this pocket, that washi is on the pocket, that washi is on the pocket, and this little die cut is also on the pocket. And that all would be one piece. This up here would not, because the feather's tucked behind, but this paper and this, they're not stacked. And I kind of think that that one wouldn't be included in this one if it were a cluster. I don't know if that made it clearer or more confusing. And let's see. And I think that's all of them that I already had that I wanted to mark. I'm not going to go through all of these and show you how I make them. I will show you a couple. And then I will, at the end of the video, show still photos so that you can see just what we did. All right, and of course, none of them are really in the middle, so it's not going to be easy to to work on them from the inside out. So this one's kind of through the middle. If I put my little bowl over here, it's got some of my other goodies in it. And I can put a thankful here and a thankful here. Now this is going to be a cluster. I have taken a piece of the book page, a piece of scrap music paper, and a piece of scrap trim lace. And I think that I may add one more thing. I think I'm going to add this piece of silk right here, just for a little extra. Unless it's too much extra. Let's try it out. This is called auditioning, when you set it on the page and see if it's too much. That one I think might be too much because that's white, and I think that that's just too far off. This is acceptable because, I don't know, because it's acceptable, but let's see. I do feel like I need something sheer there though. So let's look. I have some of this, I got this around Halloween time. And I think that it's just decoration, Halloween decoration gauze. And I'm sorry, I know you probably can't see over here because I got further away from the camera. But I was trying to get all my ducks in a row. Maybe if I put that on top. Yeah, because it looked like a hairball when I had it on bottom. How is that? Nope, I still don't like that. I just feel like it needs something, so we're going to keep digging. Okay, I dug around. I think that might pick up on that. See, does this pick up on that? No, it looks a little washed out. But this picks up right there on that red in the back. So, see, sometimes it takes a little while to figure out just what it is you think you want. Now, is it going to remain a cluster is the question, if I do that. I think that's all too lined up. Let's try putting it down here. We'll put the rose down here, or the rose down here, and the lace more down here. Does that look like it'll work? I think so. I think so. All right, so I am going to put a little dab of glue on there just to hold it together until I get it over to my sewing machine. And then I'm just going to stitch right down the middle because I think I will catch every single piece that way. Okay, so you can see where I stitched. I started with a zigzag on the top and then I went with a straight across the bottom just to give it a little bit of interest. And now I am going to do the knot where I pull the opposite side thread through and tie my knot that way. And that was actually better explained in another one of my videos. But what I do is I simply pull one thread through so that all of the threads are on the same side, instead of normally whenever you sew, you have one thread on the top of your piece and one thread on the bottom. Simply take a pokey tool and grab hold of the thread on the back side. And I've got these all in a knot because I started and ended in the same hole. And so this is not going to be a good one to show you that on. So I'm just going to do it and then I'll see if I get another opportunity to show you better. But I will add the link below so that you can see in a little better detail just how I tie that, so that I have this neat front, but I don't have to worry about my threads coming undone because they weren't knotted. All right, I like that. So now I am just going to glue that down. And I just want to point out, you can see that I'm holding that all in one piece at one end, and it's all together. So it is what I would call a cluster. And I'm just going to hold that for a few seconds. All right. And there is that one. And that takes care of one of my white pages. All right, next we're going to work on this one on this side. And this one will be a collage because I am going to glue each of the individual pieces down one at a time, because I don't think that I could put them together in such a way that they would create a cluster. This is weak paper and it doesn't have anything holding it onto it. Plus it's kind of spread out a little bit more than I would like a cluster to be. So I am going to figure out where I want to put each of these pieces. And then I'm just going to glue them on, and this will be a collage. I almost glued the wrong side of the paper. That would have made me very sad. And in a collage like this is a really good place to put your pieces of book page and quotes and things like that that you want to incorporate into your journal. And especially, I feel, if you are using a cover from an old book, or if you are making an altered book, I feel like it's important to keep part of that original book in the scheme of it. And so that's what I'm doing right here. Is I like what this is talking about. This whole book is, I read it and it's a little sad. I take that back, it's a lot sad. It's got a very good ending, but it's a lot sad. It's about a little girl who was left on the doorstep of an old judge in a town, and she just had a whole lot of problems. Her mother had had a whole lot of problems, and it's a story of overcoming. Now, I will tell you that in this day and age, there are a lot of unacceptable words and terms and thoughts. I mean, this was written in the late 1800s, and so all kinds of things were acceptable back then that we do not find acceptable now. So if you ever read the book, I would warn you of that. And keep in mind that these were people who, I think they knew better, but they were unenlightened. How about that? It was a matter of course for their lives. So there you go. I'll get off my soapbox. But that said, I do think that incorporating as much as you can of that original book is, I think it's fun anyway, even if it's not important. All right, so let's move on to this one. This could go either way. I mean, it could be a cluster if you stacked it the right way. But I don't think that I can figure that out. And I want to put some washi across the back of it anyway because of this torn bit here. So I am just going to go ahead and make it a collage as well. Now, I have this that's on the back that I'm going to carefully set aside because I'm doing something on each side of this paper, because that rip goes through both sides and I want to make sure that it's taken care of on both sides. So this, I think, Yes. This is the washi that I am going to use to take care of that rip. And I put that way too close for me to cut it. So let me try it again. Now I'm going to get my razor blade out that I keep in my drawer over here. And that's how come I wanted to make sure I had enough on the edge, because I need to have enough that I can pull on it and tear that off. And that is, I think, a major part of the reason that I don't call this one a cluster. And I'm going to come down this way as well, because I'm going to have some weight on the outside edge of this page, and so I'm just going to reinforce that area by using this washi tape. Plus this washi picks up some on the pinks and colors that we inked on it whenever we were first doing our pages. The inking and the splattering and the spritzing and all of that good stuff. All right, so here is how I want to put it together. I know I want this to be on the bottom, and I'm actually going to trim a little bit of it off because it looks a little hairy down here. And while I don't mind frayed, I don't want the hairball. Let's see. I'm going to move my book to the side so that I can lay this out. And I think I need a blank piece of paper to lay this out on. So I can see all my pieces. This image I cut out of a magazine, and it's got a number 36 down here, and I want to cover that. So I am going to, see, I want my vellum piece right there. And then I'm going to, how did I have that? I think that I had it like that. And then this was covering the number. I have some sticky fingers. It wants to stick to me. All right. Yes, I like that. I think actually I'm going to scoot that just a little bit so I've got a little bit more of that hanging out the backside. All right. So I saw somebody that said when you have a stack like this, and this could be a cluster, because if I sewed it all together, I could pick it up all in one piece. Now, somebody shared that when you're doing something like this, if you just pick up a piece at a time of your cluster, or in that case, I just needed to pick up one piece, then it's easier to get it to stay the way you want it instead of it shifting all over the place when you're trying to move it to its intended home. All right, so I know that that is all going down. I need some down here, some glue. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the entire back of that magazine page. I'm going to put one little dot of glue behind that green leaf on the vellum. I think if I put it behind the green leaf, then it won't show as much. And so now I need to also put some on the gauze, or whatever this stuff is called, just as a little bit more encouragement for it to stick. Now this is the part where, see, I said if I could pick it up all at once and it stayed together, then it would be a cluster. And if I hadn't put the washi tape on there, then I would count this page as a cluster. Press that down so I can make sure everything is securely adhered to the page. And I like that. That turned out well. So this would be a cluster if it weren't for the washi tape. But that makes it a collage in my eyes. And this is a collage. I could not have picked up these three, well, 4 pieces if you count the card that was originally there. I couldn't pick them all up at once. Unless you wanted to get technical, and if I had sewn all this together, then this all would be a cluster, but then it'd be a big cluster, and I think that would be too much. This is one of the tags that I made in one of the very first videos. I think it may have been the second one. There's a little pocket, and this was making something out of mistakes because I had a button down here that printed like an oval instead of round because of a setting on my printer, I think. And so I made it into a little pocket with a little phrase on it, and I hadn't done anything else with it yet because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I have taken a piece of the sheet music, a piece of the silk ribbon that I have frayed the edges on, just a little bit. And I am going to layer these just like this. And I am actually going to, on this one, use a stapler. I have a stapler that has some green staples in it, and so I'm going to use that on this cluster. And here's my stapler. So I'm going to come in on this side right here where there's a gap and staple. And I'm going to do it in odd numbers, and so I'm going to come up here toward the top on this side and staple right at the edge of that print, and then I'm going to come down here and staple right at the edge of those words. Now if I want to, I can come in and add a little dot of glue in there just to help secure that down, and I think I will do that just to make sure nothing silly happens, right? And there is our cluster. And I'm going to put that, let's see, I don't think I had decided where I was going to put it. Was I going to put it over here? I think so. I think I'm going to put it over there on that side. So now I'm going to glue it. And because it is all together, I don't have to make sure that I get glue on every piece because, well, on this one, for the most part, every piece is covered by the music, the sheet music on the back. But in the case of a cluster, you don't always have to cover the entire back side if you don't feel the need to. I mean, I don't know that I would have put so much glue on this, except for that is old sheet music that's on the very back, and I want to make sure that it sticks. And there we go. I think that looks really good. Just wanted to show you. This is collage as well, and I've got lined paper and lined paper and lined paper and part of the book. That is a collage as well. It doesn't have to have pictures or flowers to be a collage. hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time and your attention and your likes and your comments and all that good stuff. And I hope that you learned something, found something you liked. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, remember to be kind. Bye.